This is the ninth session of AWS DevOps training, and this is the continuity of S3 storage management. In previous session, we tried to understand the concept of AWS CLI to manage the S3 buckets. So we tried to run all these commands to understand the concept, how we can manage our storage and upload the data and manage the whole data stuff, and how we can take the backup of critical data on AWS S3. So today we have to implement how we can connect S3 bucket with EC2 instance, and we can mount it just like a block storage device. And you know the S3 is a very powerful storage, so you can dump a lot of terabytes of data in this storage. So if you buy the block storage device of this capacity, it will cost you. So we can use this S3 storage, and it is also work as a shared file system. If you mount it on across the different EC2 instances or server on premises, you can do a data replication. So we have to understand this concept. For this reason, what I will do today, first I will set up a VPC from scratch by the console, not by using the Terraform. You can do by Terraform, but at the end of this whole training, I will use the Terraform to set up whatever we learn. So here, I will set up EC2 instance, a public and a private. Public is connected with the internet, private will be connected initially for the internet, but then I will stop the private EC2 instance, and then we will understand how we can make EC2 instance to reach the S3 bucket, to mount the S3 bucket, even without the internet. And so let me do this activity on my AWS. I am using North California US West 1, and here I am going in my VPC. I don't have any VPC. I'm going to create any VPC. So I can say this is my project 1, and the seeder block I will use something different. A small seeder block I want to use, and in the VPC, sorry, I have to just again click on create VPC. I want to use VPC and more. So here I will say project 1, and the subnet I want to use some small subnet 10, 10, 10, 24. Two availability zone, okay, public subnet and private subnet, two availability zone, and NAT gateway I will create only one NAT gateway, and this S3 gateway I can create as endpoint. So this will help us to even connect the bucket with the private network within the AWS intranet from any region. So I am also adding this S3 bucket. If I show you this architecture diagram, so here you can see to reach out from this whole VPC infrastructure, the public can directly go to internet by internet gateway. The private, both subnet are connected with the NAT gateways, and you know the NAT gateway can be in any availability zone. So both these are two different availability zone, NAT gateway in West 1A, but West 1B availability zone is also able to reach NAT gateway. We discussed these concepts in very detail in previous videos of AWS. And there is one more resource that is created uh, for the S3 bucket for the VPCE. This is Virtual Private Cloud E4 endpoint for the S3 bucket. So we will understand this. So first I will not select this one. I will show you how from the internet I will connect, and then I will manually create this endpoint. So let me just Click on create VPC. It will take a while to set up. The VPC whole infrastructure is ready. Go to view VPC and everything is created now. Private, public, subnet, endpoint created. We discussed this in detail in previous videos. So here we have this VPC. These are the 4 subnets, 2 private, 2 public. Now I have to go to EC2 instances and I will launch EC2 instance first in public subnet, and I will say something like public EC2 invest 1A. Just I gave the meaningful name so that we know that where exactly is this quickly. And here I am selecting Ubuntu T2 Micro. I will create a new key pair PPK format. You can say S3 test. Any meaningful name already exists. Okay, S3 test. Create key pair. Just download it. Network I have to modify to, I have only one VPC. Okay, and here I will select 1A West 1A as a public. So rest of all these 2 are private and these 2 are public. So I selected 1A public. I want to assign the public IP and security group it will create to allow us to only SSH access. Launch instance. Instance launched. Go to instances. This is initializing. Again, launch instance. This time private EC2 West 1A. Ubuntu operating system. Same key pair I will use. Networking added. Select private West 1A. This is private West 1A. Public IP we don't need. SSH allowed, everything good. Just launch the instance. This is launched. View all instances to refresh. So both are in the initializing state. So first I will go to public and I will copy this public IP mobile extern and open the new session by using this public IP username Ubuntu, private key what I created. Okay, I am uh, now in my EC2 instance that is publicly reachable, and you know by default public instances are using internet. Why I will use the private instance? Because I will first show you the private instance can reach to S3 bucket with internet and without internet, because in the private networks I can control the internet. So what I need to do, first of all, I have to get the private IP of this instance. The private instance, this is a private IP. So for that reason, what I need to convert the key that I downloaded into PEM format, because Linux is using only PEM format to Linux to Linux SSH you can do by PEM. From Windows to Linux you can do PPK. Okay, I open this puttigen. I will load this private key, and from the conversion export OpenSSH. Yes, and here you will give the different name like PEM. So I am converting this file to PEM format. Okay, it's done. Now I have to upload here. In the downloads, it was just converted. I'm uploading. Okay, this is uploaded. Now I have to chmod 0400 S3 bucket. Okay, it's this file I can use to reach my private network. This the private virtual instance. Its IP is this one. I will do ssh-is3 test username Ubuntu. We discuss all these concepts in detail. That's why I'm going quickly fast. So we are right now connected with the private machine, and if I try to connect with the internet, you can see the internet is reachable on this instance. And why the internet is reachable? Because the VPC route table west 1A routes, you can see the default route is pointing to NAT gateway. And what is this NAT gateway? We discussed in detail. So that's why it's reachable. So right now the internet is working. So why I need the internet very first? Even you are going to connect with the private endpoint. So far we are not going with this one, but you have to install some dependencies. For that reason, you can temporarily enable the NAT gateway, and then we will install some dependencies. Then we can disable the internet. But right now, I will connect by using the internet to the S3, and then I will show you how you do this privately without internet. So what I need to do first of all, I need to install this package. I need to install this package on this machine. So I think I should use root user. So I have to first of all do apt update. Apt update I did, and now I will install this package. This is S3FS. This is S3 file system, and this package is provided by AWS, and it is now installed. If I run S3FS, -version. You can see it is installed, its version is mentioned here. So this S3fs command will help us to connect with the S3 bucket by using HTTP protocol. So here I check the variant. Now I need a user with the access key ID and AWS secret access key, and I have to save that data, the credentials, the secret key, and the access key in this file in the home directory of the user where I am going to mount as a hidden file, and I have to change the permission. So I will go to IAM to create a new user and will grant that user with the policies to be reachable by policies to all S3 buckets. So here let me go to users. I will create a new user S3. I can say EC2. I mean, just I gave the meaningful name. S3 EC2 user web console we don't need, and here attach the policy, and I will say S3 full access, all the buckets full access given to this user, and simply create this user. Now this user can do anything on any bucket, and you know how we can create the bucket policy to restrict any bucket for specific user, that we did already done for in other video sessions. So you can go through if you are concerned about the security of your buckets. So now this user is there. Go to security credentials, create access key. I want to use the same like you can use command line CLI. Next, understand, and create access key. This is the access key. Here I will just copy paste this command in this private EC2 instance, and the access key I will put here, and the secret access key just after colon, and it will be inside this file. Next, we have to change the permission of this file so that nobody else other than the owner to read write. And then we can mount the bucket by using this command. But before this, we have to create a role to the EC2 instance so that the EC2 instance has the tendency to connect with the S3 bucket, because EC2 instance as a service of AWS is trying to access S3 service. So when two services within the cloud are communicating with each other, so in that case, you need the roles. So we discussed about the user, we discussed about the policies, and now this is the roles. So what are roles? So four things actually in IAM you have to understand: users, policies, roles, and groups. Groups is very simple. You can apply some policies on the group, and then you can make all the users in specific group, and that all user will get the same access. It will save your time. Users we know, policies we know. Roles are just to assign some cloud service to access some other cloud service. So this is not for humans, you can say. It is something like system level of user access. So roles, we have to create a new role. We have to create a AWS service level of role. And here we have to select EC2 use case and use case specific EC2, allow EC2 instance to call AWS service on your behalf. Next, and here I will select S3 and I want to give full S3 access, all the buckets access to this EC2 instance. You can give read-only access to based on your situation, but I gave this one. I can give the name here like EC2 access to S3. Okay, I can say access all to S3. Create the role. It's created. Now we have to attach this role with our EC2 instance. So this is my private EC2 instance. And here action, security, modify IAM role. And here you can attach this role to EC2 instance. Okay, it's done. Now if you just click this EC2 instance ID. So this is a whole story of this EC2 instance. You can see the IAM role attached, subnet, VPC ID, everything you can see here. So this role is successfully attached. I just want to validate this. Now from this, I can use this command to mount my bucket. So just I put this command here. First of all, I will check in which region I am. I am in US West 1. So my HTTP request will go to US West 1. Okay. So this is the generic URL that is used to reach S3 region bucket to if we have a bucket in US West 1. So let me just first of all validate. Last session we created this one in US East 1. So I will use this US East 1 as the endpoint. So because the bucket that I want to access is in East 1. This is the syntax. These are the -o, these two options we are using. Use path request style and use I basically S3 is an HTTP based service, so it is, we define there the URL, and here we have to define the name of the bucket. So AWS, this one, AWS CLI itpspro.com, and it will be mounted under the MNT. So here you can see with this command what happened. This command we installed, this bucket we want to mount, here we want to mount, and these are the two options. Here the catch is, remember wherever your bucket is, you will mention that region name here. So this is automatically managed by AWS DNS, knows what is the actual IP of this region to reach to S3 bucket. So my bucket was in this region and I selected this URL. If just replace this region name in this URL and it's mounted. Okay, and it's not permanently mounted. If you want to make it permanently mountable, you can make an FS tab entry in your etc FS tab and just modify the bucket name, and I want to mount here. Under the MNT, any path you can give, and then fuse is a file system, then underscore netdev, it's a network drive. IAM role you don't need to specify here. If you attach the IAM role with the EC2 instance, you don't need to specify here. Otherwise, you can specify here too. And then this URL, that way, I'm just going to save this. I'm just going to copy from here again, opening the FS tab file and just modify here. Okay, it's done. Now just save it. And TFH is showing me it's mounted. If I go under the MNT and just list down here, you can see all the stuff that we uploaded in our bucket is listed here. For example, let me just quickly go to this bucket. Okay, this is a file. If I create a new file from my EC2 instance, for example, touch abc.txt file, and here just refresh. So you can see abc.txt is reflected here. So now we have successfully mounted it here. Now I will do a U mount just to validate our FS tab entry is working fine or not. So mount minus A, we just need to reload the systemctl daemon, and then mount minus A. It is not empty. I think it's not unmounted properly. Yes, it's mounted now. So you can see FS tab entry working perfectly fine. But so far what we did, we are using the internet accessible private EC2 instance. What if this internet is not reachable? So I'm going to VPC route table, and here in this route table, in the route, I am going to remove this NAT gateway. And if this NAT gateway is not there, the internet will not work. So we stop the internet successfully. But if I ping this time the EC2, this is not reachable now because it was reachable by internet. So all your traffic to S3 bucket was dependent on the internet, and the NAT gateway will charge you when you are uploading and downloading data from the NAT gateways. So this will cost you. So what you can do, if you don't have internet and you don't want to rely on the internet because everything is going on the internet, it's not secure, you want to make a intranet connectivity within the AWS infrastructure. So how you can do this? You have to create in the VPC endpoint that will be pointing to S3 bucket. So now we created this, we have to create this VPC endpoint. To create the VPC endpoint, go to VPC, click on endpoints, And here you see when we created the VPC, we unselected the endpoint. So we will create this now manually. And I showed you the internet is stopped on my public EC2 instance. Okay, it's not working. Now I will create this endpoint. I can say S3 endpoint. AWS service we have to select, and here we have to select S3, and the region where you are will automatically be listed here. Com, Amazon, US, West 1. Where your EC2 instance is, you have to select this one. You can also select the global access point, but I am selecting this one, and this will only be reachable within the region. So I am selecting the gateway type of endpoint, and with which VPC you want to connect. You can have multiple VPCs, but so far I have only one. So this VPC network will use this as a gateway to reach EC2 instance, and which route table will be responsible to route the traffic privately. So we have our EC2 instance set up private in this 1A, West 1A. So I'm selecting this one. It will add a new route to connect the EC2 to connect the S3 instance, S3 service. And policy you will set full access and click endpoint. So this endpoint gateway is created, and here you can see the associated VPC ID. Now if you go to the route tables and go to this West 1A that I selected while creating the route, this is endpoint. In the routes you will see a new information about the routes. You can see here, so I'm going to click edit here. You can see this destination is added, pointing to this virtual private cloud endpoint, the ID what I created. So now this will be responsible to route our traffic privately to S3 buckets. Now I'm going to my EC2 instance, and now if I do a ping, whatever ping I did, Google is not working. Okay, ping, what else command I used? This last time I pinged by using the internet, it was working, but due to the loss of internet, it's not working now. So what I will do now, if now right now I am in West 1, not in East 1. So West 1 traffic is routed. You can see the ping is working without the internet by using uh, endpoint. So endpoint routed our traffic privately. And remember, the I selected the gateway type of endpoints, and gateway type of endpoints is only responsible to make your EC2 instance privately within the region. If you want to go globally, you can select the global one, but I use this one. So now what I need to change in my, so far I have not mounted, I think it's mounted. Yes, I just need to unmount the previous one I had, and in FS tab I will modify my region to local West 1, and this bucket AWS CLIITPSPro.com is not in West 1. So I need a bucket that will be inside the same region. So remember, with the internet, you can reach any bucket directly without endpoint because it is routed by the internet with the public IPs. So now I will create a bucket in the region, west region. For example, I can say data.itpspro.com, and here I'm just creating this bucket. This is created in US West 1 data.itpspro.com. I will just modify here data, and I change this URL and save it. Run the mount minus a because I modified the fstab file. I need to run this once. Mount minus a dfh under the mnt. You can see there is nothing. Let me show you. The bucket is empty. I just created within the same region. There is nothing. Okay, now I will, if I touch abc mkdir xyz, some data I created from EC2 instance, and you can see here it is populated. So when I created the endpoint, it is only reachable within the region gateway type of endpoint. So that's why I changed this. So this was the whole process. I showed you that how you can take the leverage of EC S3 bucket to mount it by using the S3 file system, and it is using the credentials that I had it. And actually what is happening in the back end, what I have ever I define this URL, this file system S3FS file system is hitting a web request to this URL, and it is asking for the token, and the token is the information of the security key is already provided, and it will be authenticated. So no one can access this bucket publicly. Even this is reachable publicly when I ran by internet, but it is secured by the specific user that we created in uh, identity access management IAM. So this was the whole concept. I hope you got the idea how this whole stuff is working. So in the next sessions, I will set up the whole infrastructure once again with Terraform, so that we get the idea how we can do this everything by using the Terraform.